Hello, beautiful people. How is it going? Haven't been on here for a few days, and since I last talked about my current job, that I was um, going to be getting involved with some kids. So I found out, for those of you who haven't listened to before, basically I was waiting to find out if I'm going to be leaving this position with the school district that I found out today that it is going to be 18 fifth graders. So we will see how that goes. This, you know, seeing this kind of as being a temporary situation. Okay, so what I wanted to dive into today, and while this is like a lot of my subjects that can go on and really deep, and I don't even know that this really interests people very much, but I think it's a really good example from everyday living about how I talk about personal empowerment. Basically, do we want to be a slave to anything while we're living here on earth and, just being alive? Like, do you want to be a slave to your job? Do you want to be a slave to your relationships? Whatever that is, and I kind of need to explain a little bit more because that can sound so harsh, but that really like what it is. And I think just in general, I like that. I think I read it's Bruce Bob Marley saying it's mental enslavement, and that's why freedom and talking about freedom is really important to me. I think depending on where, that can go in so many different directions, but personal freedom, personal empowerment, not feeling trapped, confined, having to put yourself in a box, put a label on yourself. I don't like any of that stuff. And I just like so many different things and so much variety that has become, very difficult and challenging, even if I had to. And I will always prompt, like, okay, if I had to label myself or do this and this and this, I'll usually say that first. So, this topic today, so personal empowerment, educating ourselves and not staying ignorant, right? Because when we do stay ignorant, uh, people have said, ignorance is bliss, and sometimes, it is, because to learn about all these types of things is very stressful. Plus, when you realize, or if you realize when you get older, like, wow, like that I am like that or think like that because of what we were taught or shown or whatever, you know what I mean? Influenced by. And learning to think for yourself, like some people not even doing that for a very long time. And, into adulthood. And if I just said, yeah, some people don't learn at all, right? So if you want to call it even waking up, right? That's the term, conscious, becoming aware. So this is just another example, like I said, from real life that I can give you. I've started lists before on these different things of personal empowerment, and all of that sort of stuff, because there's a long list of things. But before I continue on with that and get distracted from what I truly want to discuss today, but I do need to do a little bit of a recap for those of you who haven't listened to me before. That the parts that I've always known since I was a teenager, as far as like maybe we'll use government or people in power, whatever it is, right? It was when I was a teenager that I realized, like, I looked at food ingredients labels. That was like one of the first things I looked at. I don't even know why. This is all kind of though at the same time, right? In between like 12 and 14 years old. And so my punk rock music and activism and just learning about the ways of the world and reading ingredient labels on like Doritos or Pepsi and being like, knowing that it was addicting, and I would look at it and be like, wow, like what's in here that's making people addicted to want to buy it, right? Because it's also marketing, right? To pay money to get addicted to the foods, to get addicted to sugar, all these things that are basically like drugs, right? Another form of drug. So I always knew about that, and then just certain injustices and things that, again, people of power or in government. And I've talked about a little bit before about like veterans and what I knew about veterans and their lack of care and doing things against their, morals and different things like that, because I just hear so many stories and read so many things. Okay, so I just have to talk about that part there. So I was just thinking this yesterday specifically while I thought about it before, is that I was walking and I was thinking, taking a walk, and I was like, how are we going to get away? I don't know if it's going to happen in our lifetime. How are we going to get away from these things? For example, of how much taxes we have to pay on things, and what, just all of us working so hard and having to pay so much, right? A lot of these things that feel like they're out of our control. Um, Dealing with all these types of insurances that we purchase, right? Whether it's car or homeowners or life insurance or flood insurance, all these different things, which flood can be under homeowners, I guess, qualified, kind of the same thing. So these companies we pay into, they don't want to pay out. They give us a problem about it, and I've never understood it because I'm like, we're paying for that. We are paying for that we don't have to deal with these certain issues, and even still write the life insurance thing, wanting to, to pass on. We're paying into it so that our loved ones are taken care of, right? And so there are so many things on this list I would talk about that are injustices, or where our power, we are not fully in our power in life because we might not speak up or whatever it is, and these things continue on. For example, like these different companies, and things just, it's kind of like, why? Like, what do you do about these sorts of things? Um, and stop saying, uh, so without going into too much detail, the reason I'm bringing this up again is because today, talking about with my brother Chris about this, not literally my brother, but my brother, like a brother to me, sensei, and my self defense instructor, we were talking about the topic of life insurance and building wealth, which has a lot of people talk shit about. Um, and just, I almost want to say there's a lot of like former ways of thinking that maybe they served us and don't anymore, right? That's what I don't want to say anything is bad or was bad, even though I might consider it that way, right? And I don't agree with it, and it's not, it's not just, it's not justice. That's the word. And for our highest good. I just feel like I think it's more things to either these different things either to scam us out of our own money, debilitate us, control us, and that is not if you want to say it's a conspiracy, the conspiracy is against us. They want to reign authority and power, so that we won't feel like we are strong as a culture. Okay, so I know younger people is becoming more educated. If me talking about this, like to the older ones that still believe that I feel they still believe, why would government do this to us or whatever, if they have not learned yet, right? They used to how things, again, have always been done, which is just another, an example right there, as the things that have, certain things that have just always been done like that is as our social security number. I've always thought, after I went through self-defense, like, why are we giving that out when there's other ways to identify us? Why am I giving out my email at the register? This is just another example, it's not that serious, but why am I giving that when I don't want to? I don't want emails, I don't want whatever, but I don't want to either rock the boat or, and cause problems, and I don't want to disappoint or displease, and all of that, and that's a result of not having the social skills, not having the assertiveness skills, and not feeling like I can stand up for myself if they were to say something, more about that. Not even giving an email, somebody can still have a response. It's again the whole speaking up and or saying no. When you question authority or you question anything, people don't like that. So again, this is going back to the do what you're told, just do it, or you get punished. Talked about this before. So the example today, and me feeling like I have to vent here and not only just talk about exploring more about this, because this topic of life insurance and building wealth and different things, it's just kind of like going back to, well, it started with him basically asking me, do you know how the bank makes money? And I felt totally dumb and stupid because I don't. I knew it and recognized it as a place that we put our money, right? We put our money in there and we can deposit our checks and we go get money out of it. But I never thought of it as a place like, hey, I'm going to grow money there and the interest and whatever. I always knew because I knew about mutual funds and I knew about money markets. That's where I came from. I used to listen to people like 20 some years ago, right, in my early 20s, to Dave Ramsey and a little bit of Susie Orman and some other people. That's when I was starting to learn just about other ways to, build wealth. But I never went very far with it because I didn't know what I was doing, and there were many years I stopped putting into it, so I just don't have as much money in there as I should have. I'm kind of mad at myself about that. So all I can do is change things moving forward. So this whole topic though is financial literacy that we're not taught. It's just like back in the day, life skills, or how to pay your bills and all this sort of stuff that I feel like I wish I was taught. So the managing, the investing money, all these things that I just talked about. So we were talking about that, and then me just over getting overwhelmed because there's so much information, and at the same time too asking, like, again, how would we know? We don't know what's going on. The banks, yeah, I just never knew how banks were making money, and then using our interest or building interest, what they do with it, um, or what happens to it after they send it to the FDIC. And I'm not even going to repeat the information here because I'm not good with that, people. But I wanted to just bring it up that I want to help expand your mind in exploring all these things that we don't know, especially when it comes to how our money is handled, but also, like, I keep using the word raped, but like we are letting companies, people, or whatever, I feel like rape slash control us in a way, because if we keep doing it and keep allowing it, they're going to keep doing it. It's kind of like the same thing if I keep paying $7 for a coffee, which, by the way, I don't think I've ever paid that much, but I've paid like $6 or something, or even with my tea or my whatever. And so I've had to back off of that. I'm very sad about that. So I just do it every once in a while. And still, $5 is a lot for a drink, right? Of ice or something I can make better at home. Is just the more we keep doing these things and spending, $10 on a hot dog at on the street, or for your beer you're spending $14 for 3 ounces. I'm being dramatic, but maybe $14 for your 6 or 8 ounce beer, um, and then you go to these events, so you're paying, $10 for the parking, and then the ticket to the event is $50 to $150, and then maybe we go to a fight, and then the fight is $40 to $60, and then you can't even see because the pole's in the way, and just the way that they're pricing and doing these things. And the thing is, people, we are paying it. So sometimes I'm like, well, who's the dumbass? Like, who's the one who's doing this? Well, if we keep doing this, they're going to stay in business and all of that. So maybe you're going to say, oh, these are the things to enjoy life. Yes, yes, I understand. I'm just trying to give you an example of these different things in the way we spend money and not being shown or taught, and just like credit cards, right? We've all, to some extent, used some credit cards, and we know that we're paying the interest on it. And if you don't pay it off right away, sometimes you end up spending thousands more than actually what you made the purchase for, right? Or we can go off and talking about school loans and things like that, where people have talked about, one of my good friends who's an engineer, she's like, yeah, I think I could have even done just fine going to community college. but she's just almost getting done paying off her debt of $60,000 going to where she went, not a community college to study engineering. So the list could go on and on. I could talk about way more examples and different things, but pretty much I just wanted to end in basically sharing, but I didn't even think this was going to be 15 minutes long. Sorry, I'm always making comment about the time, people, but it's like I feel I can really never make anything short sometimes. Personal empowerment, not staying ignorant, and encourage you to study things like this, like where your money is going, what's going on, the mutual fund and world, and talking about stocks and when they crash, and making these investments in companies that where we're not getting any money back from them. Like, I don't even know to say that I would expect in any way that I would get money back from things like insurance companies. But you definitely don't expect that when you're going to sign up something that's going to supposed to help you out, that you're going to have to argue, debate, or prove um, anything to these companies to pay out, right? And I will end with basically saying my personal example from the experience, because I've also had with homeowners, them not wanting to cover the foundation repair on our house, which we had nothing to do with because our house was sinking. That example, that what they won't cover, and then also because it has to be something that was done or whatever to the exterior. I'm just saying as an example. And then the other example is when my mom passed. We went through basically a 6 month a 6 months process of sending paperwork and stuff back and forth because the death certificate was not proof enough. And they wanted pictures. And I did get pissed about that because I'm like, what do you want, pictures of her skull? Because we actually have that after she was cremated. It didn't completely get burned. And so, and they're constantly saying, I'm sorry for your loss. I feel like that's just so fake. Like, you don't even care. And maybe, again, those people, it's not to blame them, but it's a cultural thing again. You're just used to saying that repetitively over and over again. Somebody is already grieving, which I don't even know, to the levels of some people. I wasn't close with my mom, but still grieving, though, still going through all of this. My stepdad had to deal with it, and like, now you want pictures of their dead body or remains, like, to prove pain. So it took like the 6 months and then another 2 months to get the funding for it from it. So this is the life insurance company, right? So those are the examples that I can give you where it's like many things to make you bitter and pissed about things in life, because you're like, what the hell? Like, why do I have to do all of this? Especially since, things were set up. She and my stepdad had set up this up, obviously, right? So whether it's because of these cheaper premiums or whatever it is, the care is not customer service and the care isn't as good as it could be. I don't know. I just know that I'm not the first one to experience this, people. And it's just not only life insurance companies, like I just talked about, car insurance, homeowners, whatever else it is that people don't want to pay out on things, car warranties. Um, so it's just a lot of dumbness. Okay, now I'm tired from running my mouth about that. So maybe this interested some of you. I don't know, but I just had to share because, again, along personal empowerment journey path, the different things in life that I feel are unjust. And like I said, I was like thinking, I've been thinking about it for a long time, but just yesterday, 3 months, my policy had been sitting on the counter and I need to do something about it, my life insurance thing, and switch it out and do something different. That we had this conversation today. But yeah, literally, and in California, property taxes, all these things, like, the amount is so off the chart and ridiculous. I think it's like, why? You know, living here or not in general, just how much is taken from all the hard work we do. Okay, people, so maybe I'll do another episode on all the different examples I can think of, but I'd have to sit down and really focus on it, and I don't even know the hell that people want to hear it, but it's definitely something I have to share, so I'll probably end up doing it. It's just not on the top priority list right now. Okay, so hope you all are doing well, and thank you again so much for listening, and I will meet you in the next video. Bye bye.